Hello, and welcome to the City Efficiency Leadership Council webinar, Building a Green Texas program with our youth. So this program is sponsored and hosted by SPEAR, and SPEAR is short for South Central Partnership for Energy Efficiency as a Resource. We're one of 6 regional energy efficiency organizations in the nation. Our range is Texas and Oklahoma. Our work is policy, building codes, high performance buildings, local government, and our membership ranges from advocacy organizations to cities, counties, education, universities, school districts, trade associations, and utilities. Our mission is to accelerate the adoption of advanced building systems and energy efficient products, services, in the South Central region. So City Efficiency Leadership Council's in the name, but we are a collaborative network of Texas cities, school districts, and other government entities. And we engage in partnership and resource exchange. And it's really to expand the adoption of energy management best practices in the public sector. How can we support you? We have regional roundtable luncheons, webinars, best practice case studies, toolkits, and my forte really is a local government energy reporting assistance. And excuse me, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Sean Auckland. I'm the local government program manager. So I provide technical assistance and portfolio baselining, benchmarking, and technical support. And if you're interested in becoming involved in our leadership council, just reach out to me. You can put your name, reach out to me in the chat, and I can privately, I could also just put my email in the chat if you want more information about the programs that we do or other resources. And any staff or public jurisdiction, including city and county governments, public school districts, and other publicly funded entities can join the CELC. And this program is funded through the State Energy Conservation Office. And I really want to thank them for their support. Without further ado, I am going to have Elizabeth Stevens, a program manager with EcoRise, and Brittany introduce themselves. So at this time, Elizabeth, feel free. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you can set up. And I look forward to your presentation. This is fantastic and very much aligned with the current movement of funding for the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act and really learning about how to build a green Texas. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean, for hosting this and for inviting myself and my colleague, Brittany Jaro. We're from EcoRise, and we're excited to talk about increasing representation in the fields of sustainability and green building. So without further ado, I'd like to allow my colleague, Brittany Jaro, our Director of Youth Programs at EcoRise, to introduce herself and talk a little bit about her background.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us today. I am Brittany Jaro, Director of Youth Programs at EcoRise. My pronouns are she, her. In my work at EcoRise, I oversee our youth councils focused on civic engagement and centered in climate resiliency, equity, and action, as well as oversee our paid summer internship program that's designed to create equitable pathways to green careers for youth from communities that are historically underrepresented in the fields of sustainability. My work is focused on elevating youth voices and highlighting and enhancing the representation of Black, Indigenous, and students of color in green career fields.
Thank you, Brittany. And I'm Elizabeth Stevens. I am the Building a Green Texas Program Manager at EcoRise, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm extremely excited to talk to you about this program. I lead the teacher-facing side of Building a Green Texas. In my background, I graduated from Rice with a degree in English and political science and did not necessarily see myself working in environmental education or green building. But I had the opportunity right after graduation to work with Richard Johnson, who's the Director of Sustainability at Rice, and through the Center for the Study of Environment and Society, I TA'd a class on university sustainability and became just enamored with the idea of how we transform our buildings to meet green codes and to also reduce our climate footprint and our impact. And so from there, I've been in education for about 15 years, along with 10 years in Texas public schools, supporting teachers teaching, and also as a instructional coach and curriculum coordinator and an AP, but truly found my niche at EcoRise, working with teachers and students to further green innovation in the fields of green building. I also went to Brandeis University and got my master's in sustainable international development from the Heller School to further that work. So really briefly, we want to give you a background on EcoRise. EcoRise is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based here in Austin, and we really see ourselves as providing a niche in education to empower the next generation of green leaders. So we don't just provide environmental education curriculum resources, we also provide innovation resources, design thinking, opportunities for students to design and build innovative solutions to real world challenges. And so our mission statement here is that we're mobilizing a new generation of green leaders to design healthy, just, and thriving communities for all. And I'll turn it over to Brittany to talk a little bit about some of our curriculum programs, including the Green Building Academy.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We have a wide variety of curricula and programs. You can see them all listed here. Our main programs have historically been rooted in school-based education. We have a train the teacher model and an online platform for K through 12 curricula. We offer professional development and community resources to educators from around the world. Our programs, as Elizabeth was saying, help to develop the next generation of creative problem solvers. Our flagship program on the far right left there is our Sustainable Intelligence program. It is a K through 12, sort of an intro to sustainability, beautiful program for K through 12 that engages students in that creative problem solving and auditing of their campuses and the creation of projects that further sustainability on their campuses. Today, we're talking about the Building a Green Texas project, which lives in our Green Building Academy. Elizabeth, thank you for circling it over there, as well as some of our youth program work, which exists in our paid summer internship. There's a lot to learn from EcoRise, a lot of different programs that we offer, all really designed to cultivate and embrace sustainable solutions to environmental and social challenges in our community. All right, so for Building a Green Texas, I would like to say that in 2017, prior to the timeline you see here, in partnership with Eversource Energy districts and charter schools in and around Boston, Massachusetts, and the USGBC, Massachusetts, we launched a pilot of our Green Building Academy. And it was a rigorous workforce development program aimed at creating pathways for students to careers in green fields. And in 2018, after the success of that pilot in Massachusetts, we began hosting professional development to teachers interested in the content across 12 different states in the country, bringing in 53 teachers to start learning about green building practices and principles and embedding this into the work that they're doing in their classrooms. And then in 2020, we launched Building a Green Texas, and I'll go into that in a little more detail in just a moment. But included in the program for Building a Green Texas, we provide extensive professional development to our students or to our teachers that we'll share more about. We also have curriculum. Our curriculum specific for this program is the Green Building Lessons for a Sustainable Future. Our Sustainable Intelligence curriculum, the flagship program I was telling you about, and we also offer the LEED Green Associate Certification Preparation and Support. And then included with all of the stuff that our teachers are engaging in, we are creating opportunities and helping teachers really create opportunities for project-based and self-paced options for students to engage in this content. We host showcases where students are able to showcase their work back into the communities. We have small micro grants for schools and for students to engage and implement projects that they think are useful for advancing sustainability. And then, of course, opportunities to help students and teachers alike become certified and lead. Could you move on to the next slide? I want to just go over the course a little bit, but this is a visual I'd like to have for you while I'm doing that. The course, the Green Building Lessons for a Sustainable Future course, that is the guiding curriculum for the Building a Green Texas program, gives students a thorough understanding of green building principles and LEED requirements to prepare them for taking that exam. For anyone who is not familiar, LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and it is a green building certification program from the U.S. Green Building Council. As the field of green building really undergoes an explosive growth, this course helps prepare students to enter the workforce with sought-after skills and experience. And because LEED is a global green building rating system, students with LEED credentials have skills that are in demand internationally. And EcoRise has a small cohort of students in high school, the most students, in fact, under the age of 18, holding this credential through this program specifically, which is really incredible. Students in this course will delve into what sustainability means to them personally and to the built environment. And it includes a lot of hands-on activities and group projects where students are able to examine practical aspects of green building, such as net zero energy, sustainably sourced materials, and healthy air quality. They practice designing green building components such as sustainable landscapes and efficient water systems. And then again, some choose to participate in the LEED Green Associate credentialing. Others don't. We know that a certification isn't for everyone. We know that test taking is not for everyone, as well as a pathway that might take you into college is not something that everyone is taking. We try to create as many opportunities as we can to get students into jobs after high school, if that's their trajectory, or continue their education if they're going into higher education. The reason I wanted to have this slide as a background is because the goals of a LEED project, they represent the sustainability mindset that we are working to help students develop, that empowers them to improve the planet, just one project at a time. The EcoRise Building a Green Texas project is a project that was selected by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 2020. It's a NOAA is how we know it, for a NOAA Education Environmental Literacy Grant. And it is to help us tackle some big issues in the environmental education space. I would like to note that I think probably we all know on this call that climate change disproportionately impacts low-income and otherwise marginalized communities that typically have the fewest resources to adapt. The very communities that feel the effects of climate change most acutely have been historically underrepresented in the fields of sustainability and green building. And so the Building a Green Texas project helps address these concerns by giving high school students opportunities to develop knowledge, skills, and confidence to tackle challenges posed by climate change. Through the project, students gain valuable green career skills and credentials and become part of a green building pathway or pipeline, school to job pipeline that will help contribute to a more diverse workforce. EcoRise and the University of Texas at Austin are leading this program. It's a 3-year program to see what waves we can make in the current field. We kicked off last year. We're in our 2nd year. We started out in Central Texas. We have branched into Houston and the Gulf Coast this year, and we will continue in those regions in the next year. And the goals of the project are, like I said, to increase their knowledge and skills and confidence, to provide students with active learning experiences and career exposure, to help them consider scientific uncertainty, cultural knowledge, and diverse community values, and to diversify the fields of green building. One major component of this is connecting students with scientists, civic leaders, green building professionals, as well as NOAA data and staff to help give them a wide breadth of knowledge that they can choose to deepen over their education. As I mentioned, there's disproportionate representation among green fields. This graph here, I'm going to give everyone just a moment to take a look at it and reflect on it. It shows the percentage of Americans in architecture, construction, and energy fields. So just 1 second to see what you see. Okay, looking at this graph, clearly these fields have large numbers of males practicing. In our programs, we are really focusing on elevating the experiences of girls and female identifying students. There are a lot of young people interested in these careers, girls and female identifying students, and they often don't get to see these experiences, or they don't see themselves frequently enough reflected in the professionals that we put in front of them. And so much of the work that I do personally is bringing in green professionals that represent our student populations. We're also working to increase representation of Black, Indigenous, and students of color in these fields. You can see that the numbers are relatively low, and they're especially low in those high-paying positions within architecture, construction, and energy. And we're trying to help create pathways with the partnerships that we've created in community, municipal, higher education, to make spaces where these particular students see themselves excelling and achieving. And here's just a little program overview. We're currently in the yellow bucket. That last year in 2020, we started the program in Texas with 5 schools. And I can't recall if this was mentioned, but EcoRise is a Texas-based nonprofit. We have staff and programs all across the country. We are based in Texas, and this is where we chose to start this program, to try it out with 5 schools. We had roughly 7 teachers joining the program, and through the work that they were doing, engaging students in the curriculum throughout the school year, we reached somewhere in the range of 160 students. This is our goal. And then we offered, instead of 4 school year field experiences, as you know, 2020 was our inaugural pandemic year, we hosted 2 field experiences that were actually virtual, which was a really great way to bring a little joy into the classroom amid a lot of uncertainty. We did host 10 paid internships last year, and we hosted 1 student innovation showcase, which is our students coming together to showcase back to the community all that they learned throughout the year and their summer experience. We're currently working with roughly 9 schools in Central Texas and the Gulf Coast this year. Our goals were to have between 9 and 12 teachers. You can see all the numbers. We're growing. We're trying to grow every year, bringing on a few more students, a few more cohorts across the regions. I'm happy to report that our summer internships in Texas just started this year, and I'll share more about them, but we have students represented in Port Aransas, in Galveston, as well as Central Texas in the Austin area for 15 summer internship spots, and we anticipate seeing them showcase this year and next year. We want to stick with these regions and bring in more teachers, more students, more exposure, and increase our ability to pay more students to continue this learning and continue this gaining experiences in green fields as we wrap up the program and see where it goes from here. I would like to say, Elizabeth, before you go on, this project has turned into a bit of a grand experiment. You know, we, as most of you know, if you've ever written a proposal for a grant, you think you know what you're going to do, you hope you know what you're going to do. And we've been really fortunate in working with NOAA on this project because of their interest in learning. We are learning every day and kind of working around shifting our approaches to still meet our goals, but being as aware and responsive to the ever-changing needs of our school communities and our student communities. And so it's a really interesting thing that we've been learning through the last couple of years. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what iterations come from the next year and beyond as we experiment with creating these opportunities.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brittany, for that background and context on the program. And I wanted to share, Brittany mentioned our partnership with the University of Texas at Austin and specifically the UT School of Architecture. And so this QR code is active. If you have your phone out and are able to scan that, this should take you to an article that was published in Platform, which is the University of Texas at Austin School of Architecture's publication called A Research Practice Partnership, Advance Anti-Racist Green Building Education and Practice. And so we are also, as we are doing our work, delving into the academic side of what anti-racist pedagogy looks like for operating this program and making sure that we're reaching the teachers and students that we designed the program to reach. And so this is a collaboration between Dr. Miriam Solis at the University of Texas, our Deputy Director, Abby Randall, and Will Davies, who's a PhD candidate and a data analyst at Breakthrough Central Texas. So we're extremely proud of the pedagogical progress that we've made in developing this program and are starting to share that with the broader academic community. Brittany, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would like to just add that this article describes how these partnerships or across these partnerships, how critical race theory is shaping how we understand program implications. It's a really interesting read, and it also describes how we've applied community-based participatory research methods to help advance the anti-racist green building education and practices. I encourage you all to take a photo or scan that QR code now so that you can check it out later.
I'll leave it up here for just another second if anyone wants to grab that. Thank you. I'm going to speak a little bit about the teacher-facing experience for Building a Green Texas, and then invite Brittany to speak a little bit about the student-facing experience. So as the Building a Green Texas program manager here in Austin, it was my responsibility this year to recruit those teachers who are going to be implementing Building a Green Texas and receiving this training to further the program. So we worked specifically with the CTE directors in Austin ISD and Del Valle ISD, and CTE, of course, is Career and Technical Education, which has seen a big boom in Texas with the push for college, career, and military readiness over the past couple of years. And so we're sharing this opportunity with specifically CTE teachers and also science teachers, specifically at Title I campuses throughout Central Texas. And teachers were offered $500 stipends to participate. They received that professional learning experience where we trained them in our curriculum resources and gave them access and support throughout the school year. And they also had the opportunity to prepare for and attempt the Lead Green Associate Certification exam through the USGBC. They were trained, those who chose to participate were trained by Heather Combs over the past year. We'll talk a little bit about that experience as well. I will say that EcoRise kind of operates, if y'all are not in public education, you might not know this, but we operate in an external capacity, we're school adjacent because there aren't necessarily a lot of environmental standards that are taught in Texas public schools. There is an environmental science class, and of course there's an AP course in environmental systems. However, if you're not teaching those courses, or you're not a high school teacher, you might not have any access to a sustainability curriculum or environmental resources. And so we work with CTE teachers who teach automotive, CTE teachers who teach media, CTE teachers who teach construction, of course, and architecture are our main goal. And we get some environmental science teachers or just hard science teachers. We had an AP chemistry teacher out in Del Valle, and she's very interested as she starts preparing students to perhaps one day work in the Tesla plant with those electric cars and batteries, thinking about how Building a Green Texas might support her. So we have to be extremely flexible. We have to support teachers to find ways to make the curriculum applicable in their classrooms. And that's really kind of the joy and the secret sauce of EcoRise, is going where people will invite us and making sure that we find resources that match their needs, while also holding true to the hard science that's in our sustainability and green building curriculum. So this year, we had 8 teachers who completed the full Building a Green Texas program and received their stipend. And that means they participated in a variety of educator workshops, they taught lessons, and they gave us feedback on those lessons. So we kicked off with module 1 back in October. We did a training, Brittany and I, on systems thinking and looking at the interconnectedness of green building with all systems. We brought those teachers back in December. We had a successful session on water conservation, where we looked at opportunities for water, reducing your water footprint through a building, innovations, including rainwater catchment, including permeation of various surfaces and runoff. And then building on that experience, Brittany and our education specialist, Sharon Huerta, conducted a student field experience, which Brittany will talk a little bit more about, at the Meadows Center in San Marcos. In the spring, we brought them back with our USGBC course that we collaborated with Heather Combs to host. And we had 4 teachers from Central Texas, as well as 1 in Washington, DC, who went through that entire course. It was 8 weeks to become Lead Green Associate Prep Teach certified. So those teachers will be taking their Lead Green Associate exam this summer. And they joined us on Tuesday evenings for 8 weeks to take that course. These were all virtual workshops, with the exception of our student experience in San Marcos. And in February, we kind of wrapped up our educator workshops. We had an energy and atmosphere workshop where we focused specifically on the impact of buildings as they relate to climate change and air quality. And our final field experience was virtual, where we brought together the University of Texas Marine Science Institute and looked at microplastic and nurdles through a lesson with citizen science. So a combination of educator workshops, student field experiences, virtual and in person, and then of course that USGBC opportunity to become Lead Green Associates and to also pass that information and that training along to their students, in the hopes that we will also have students in high school who are becoming Lead Green Associate certified while still in high school. So this must be disorienting to see pictures of our Zoom workshops while we're in a Zoom webinar. But since we're virtual and we like to try to capture what we're doing, I thought I'd share just a few of our trainings and teachers with you. This, of course, is Brittany and myself and some of our amazing teachers. You see Lisa Haste from Del Valle Opportunity Center, which is the alternative campus in Del Valle. You see Victor Villasencio, who's teaching at the time construction in Del Valle High School, and will actually be an EcoRise ambassador teaching dual credit courses next year. And then you see Nicole Nicholson, who's at Klein Forest ISD near Houston. And Nicole teaches AP environmental science and is also an EcoRise ambassador. And I should say those are folks who get extra training and stipends to further the work of EcoRise in their regions, and are really just exceptional educators who we offer those trainings and stipends to become ambassadors and emissaries of the work that we're doing. So these 3 teachers joined us in October, and we looked specifically, again, at systems thinking and how building systems are interconnected. And specifically, we kicked off kind of at the end of our curriculum with this lesson 7.1, the importance of place, which focuses specifically on particular challenges related to regional issues. And so we asked the teachers to think about their own school or campus and to look at that particular space and the climate changes and building challenges that they experience in that space. And so with all of our lessons, they're extremely interactive. We try to get teachers involved in the training. So here you see one more shot from that particular training in October. And you can tell over here on the right, Victor is doing the presenting. He had captured some global imaging from Google Earth, where he's looking at the Ann Richards School here in Austin and talking specifically about how this is a bit of a heat island here, where we have very few trees on the Ann Richards campus, and talking about equity and opportunities for reducing the impacts of climate change through some landscaping opportunities here. We then moved over to our innovative water solutions. We looked at, in that second session, different ways to reduce our water footprint through sustainable solutions that many of these teachers had not seen or heard of before. This particular lesson has a very cool presentation that includes lots of examples of innovative water conservation solutions, opportunities for water catchment in restrooms related to filling toilets with sink runoff and that kind of thing. And then we asked the teachers to do a virtual gallery walk, where they kind of posted their ideas about each of these innovative water solutions and what they saw as the potential opportunities and challenges with getting students or institutions to uptake these designs. And then we asked them to kind of model their own drawings, what they thought might be good solutions for their campuses. And here you can see we had quite a few participants. If you're a fan of Queer Eye on Netflix, you might recognize Tara Bordeaux and Medina Willis from Navarro High School from this last season in Austin. They had a remake of their courtyard, among other things, on that episode. But we also have Ariana Colasanti from Navarro High School, who teaches aquatic sciences. And again, Victor and Nicole. This is Lisa, and then up here in the right-hand corner is Miriam Reyes Juarez from Travis High School, who teaches engineering. So we're definitely reaching the teachers that we want to reach, and they were highly engaged in this session. It was just great to have them participate, give up some extra time for this training to learn about these water solutions. And then our final session, as I mentioned, for teachers, was focused on energy and air. And I was delighted to have my colleague, Zakia Grant, who runs our Green Building Academy in the Northeast, specifically in Massachusetts, facilitate this classroom blackout mini audit, which is a lesson that we also have in our sustainable intelligence curriculum, where we looked at what are the different appliances in your classroom, kind of discovered what the big energy vampires are, and measured, how we could reduce our energy footprints, reduce the amount of kilowatt hours that are consumed through making some smart choices in our classroom. But knowledge, of course, is the first step. And so helping these teachers to actually walk through the process themselves and then document that so that they could run this lesson with their students in their classroom. And then over there on the right, you'll see some of our participants. We had Bill Gibbs, who's the ED of the Clean Air Force here in Austin, Victor, and there's Miriam again, as well as my colleagues. So we like to capture some testimonials and feedback from our participants. We have many, many more of these testimonials, but I specifically appreciated Ariana Colasanti, again, our aquatic systems teacher at Navarro High School. And this is her testimonial about her experience with the Building a Green Texas program. So she says, I found the greenscaping lesson was the most useful for my aquatic science classes. I've been teaching the classes about native plants, invasive species, stormwater runoff, and problems with lawns and rain gardens all semester. And this tied the semester up nicely. So she sent me these pictures, which we always ask teachers to share, what's going on, but it's not a requirement, and we know that folks are extremely busy. So it really touched me, warmed my heart to see these students who were doing some native planting and thinking consciously about how to make this what was previously a pretty bare space, very dusty space that had just kind of been pounded by students' feet and then would flood when it rained and then immediately kind of run off and dry up like a lot of spaces here in Central Texas. And they had done a lot of auditing of the space, kind of measuring the rain when it did flow and then seeing what plants they thought would be most effective in that space. And here we have our students actually doing the planting, which is so cool. I'm just really grateful for Ariana for sharing those. And I'll turn it over to Brittany to talk a little bit about the student experience.
Sure, thanks, Elizabeth. I love seeing those photos. I always really enjoy that. So this here is a photo from our fall field experience. Last year in December, we took students, a class of students from Aikens High School, hosted by teacher John Stace, to the Meadow Center in San Marcos, Texas. And the Meadow Center, they aim to inspire research and leadership that ensures clean, abundant water for the environment and for all humanity. And they fulfill their mission by integrating activities across 4 pillars of action: research, leadership, education, and stewardship. And we invited students to join us for a full day field experience at the center to participate in a site tour, including a glass bottom boat ride across Spring Lake, and to do hands-on water conservation activities and watershed modeling. So on the left, you can see them on their glass bottom boat tour. On the tour, you can see the springs. This is actually at the start of the lake. You can see the springs and the wildlife. And then on the right, they're doing a watershed modeling activity. It was really great. This is a class of senior students. The watershed modeling activity they frequently do with elementary students, but as it turns out, if you put a spray bottle with some colored water in it, everyone is excited. And it turned out to be a really great opportunity for them to explore water conservation and as well as make connections to environmental justice that day. With these field experiences, or with this field experience, we tied in our curriculum from the Green Building Lessons for a Sustainable Future curriculum suite. And we were able to give the details of this field trip to other teachers in the event that they want to take their students as well, and connect it with those lessons. And John Stace was also able to engage students in some of the lessons that are related. We focused on one of our introductory lessons in the curriculum related to ecosystems, as well as managing rainwater. And then we had students focus on a lesson called Water, a Limited Resource, to really help them understand that our freshwater supply is not infinite. And then we also encourage teachers who want to do work around water to do a water audit on their campus and help students do that in their homes to determine water usage and water waste. The activities the students engaged in on this field experience, while fun, were also aligned to state standards. Helping teachers be able to participate in activities like this is really important. And we know that being able to tie back to standards is frequently a requirement for being able to access some of these more out of the box opportunities. It was a really fun day. And then this is a photo of our virtual field experience that we did in March. We partnered with the University of Texas Marine Science Institute, which is a marine research facility located in Port Aransas, Texas. UTMSI conducts research and facilitates education and outreach programs throughout the entire year. And so we were hosted by Adriana Reza. She's the on the top row, the third from the left. She is also one of our partners on the Building a Green Texas project. She took students through a virtual field experience exploring environmental conservation. The experience included 2 conservation career spotlights. We spotlighted a researcher and a scientist on the university campus, as well as an investigation of plastic waste created by nurdles, which if you go to the next slide, Elizabeth, we can see what those look like, I think. Yeah, nurdles in the top right of all of those little bubbles, the photo on the left, the top right, these are nurdles. Nurdles are the beginnings of our plastic production. Everything that's created, everything plastic that's created is created from these tiny little pieces of plastic that are molded and shaped. And we have a persistent problem along our shores of nurdle waste. There's no, as we learned, I didn't know this before, but there's no regulation in how nurdles are stored and how they are shipped and moved. And so there are millions upon millions of these things that are often lost in the ocean, and they wash up on the shore. And you can imagine the negative environmental impacts of something like that. And so Adriana walked the students, walked them through a citizen science activity where they can go out and collect nurdles on their shores and then report back to Nurdle Patrol, which is a website that will allow us to see where are we finding more of these little plastic pieces. And the students who participated, the teachers who participated were given a Nurdle Patrol startup kit. And this allowed them to go out and collect their samples. And we had 2 teachers participate and 2 full classrooms participate in this activity. One actually was in Central Texas, as we know is not along the shore. And them participating in a citizen science activity was really exciting because we got to go out and see where nurdles do not exist. But one thing that we don't often think about is in transportation, it's easy to find them along train routes. And so their data is really vital in our ability to be able to advocate for stricter parameters around how and policies around how we utilize these activities and again, or utilize these resources. And again, these were aligned to state standards as well as our green building lessons. We focused on material impacts and sustainably sourced materials, as well as help students engage in a waste eco audit so they can explore waste a little further, including plastic waste on their campuses. And last but not least, as a part of the student-facing opportunities for the Building a Green Texas program, we have a paid summer internship. This is a snap of our one-pager for our summer internship this year. The internship is a part of our Green Careers Academy, and the goal is to provide students with exposure to a variety of green careers to sharpen their 21st century and workplace skills and to foster connections with a network of green professionals from a variety of focus areas like community resilience, green building, conservation, and others. The program is a 7-week program. It's broken into 2 stages. The first stage is professional development that students engage in with our team at EcoRise. In fact, there's a PD session going on right now for our 15 students across the state. And the first few weeks of the program, the students are working on skill building around 21st century skills, how to collaborate, what is your personal mindset, what does professionalism look like in the spaces that you might find yourself in, knowing that professionalism looks different in different spaces. It's around goal setting. Next week, students are going to be engaging in knowledge building related to sustainability, and will participate in a series of workshops with the University of Texas School of Architecture, rooted in environmental justice and green building practices that will culminate in a design charrette at the end of next week. We're doing all of this in the first couple of weeks in stage 1 to prepare students to go on site with different professionals. Students have been paired with different mentors from several different places across the state, and they'll spend 4 weeks with them digging into a project, but then they will present back to the community, the internship community, at the end of the summer We have students going to work with the University of Texas Marine Science Institute, with Galveston's own farmers market, and the Young Gardeners program in Galveston. We have students who are going to be paired with, or have been paired with, Gensler, which is an architecture and design firm in Central Texas, with BLGY Architecture. Students will be with the City of Austin Office of Sustainability, and several other places. In fact, we have students who are going to be engaging in this work. While we have a cohort of students in San Antonio that are not a part of our Building a Green Texas program, they are participating in this internship in the same way. And they are also collaborating during the first couple of weeks of skill and knowledge building with our students from Central Texas and the Gulf Coast, as again, our efforts to create vast exposure for students. And so they'll be working with the World Heritage Office, with the City of San Antonio, with the City of San Antonio Office of Sustainability, and the San Antonio River Foundation. And then I forgot one, Into the Sea is an organization that students have been paired with in Central Texas that do waste audits. And so students will be digging into how to do a cleanup in the city. And so all of the students are going to be working on actual hands-on projects that they will have lead roles in, that they will be able to execute in the 4 weeks, all the while being very closely monitored and mentored by green professionals in varying stages of their careers. Included in this program, we also are hosting a green careers speaker series, where we are spotlighting different careers from a variety of professionals who are maybe in graduate school or in their entry-level positions right out of school, and all the way up to CEOs of organizations, where we're showing students their pathway, their profession, and their passions. And so these folks are coming for short little spotlights of, these are the things I was really interested in. This is what I do now that aligns with that. And this is how I got there, creating spaces for students to learn about a day in the life of different professionals across fields, the credentialing and the education that they needed, if they needed it, as well as what to expect from salary at different stages. All in the hopes of being able to provide students with exposure that will help them make really informed choices about how they'd like to engage, and hopefully continue to engage in sustainability and green building work as they pursue their options.
All right, thank you so much, Brittany. And I'd like to invite y'all, if you're hearing about EcoRise for the first time, or you're just interested in learning more, maybe this isn't your first time hearing about us, but you'd like to learn more, this is a QR code that will take you to our newsletter that you're welcome to scan and subscribe to. And we do try to wrap up our sessions always with a call to action. And so there's a call to action there at the bottom for folks on this call. If you're intrigued by what you saw and excited to get engaged, then we invite you to consider becoming a Green Careers Mentor. As Brittany just mentioned, with the internship program, there are lots of opportunities to hear from green professionals, and we love to share those voices with our students. And also, we're always looking for internship partners for the future. And so if you think perhaps that hosting a Building a Green Texas student intern would be a good fit for your organization, then we would also absolutely love to hear from you. And so I will leave this up for just another second here if you want to scan that QR code.
I'd like to say too, outside of our internship, teachers really enjoy the opportunity to bring guest speakers into their classrooms in person or virtually to share about the work that they do. And that's something that we would love to be able to help connect you to.
And I just want to say thank you. This is us, Brittany at EcoRise or Elizabeth at ecorise.org. And with that, I will stop sharing, and we have a few minutes for questions, I think.
Thank you both for your presentation. I'm pretty excited. We haven't gotten too many questions about how to evolve and how do you get connected did with E2, the curriculum and your main for the region. So there was a person from Dallas ISD, there's high school, discussing possible information. So and there's his email.
Sean, I think you're having a little bit of a connectivity issue. I don't know if you're able to repeat that.
Okay. So at the Dallas ISD City Lab High School. He's interested to discuss those things, and hopefully you can hear that a little bit better.
Let me just clarify. It sounds like the question is how to connect students and teachers with EcoRise. This one particular teacher, I can see it in the chat, Peter Goldstein. How would you go about that? Elizabeth, would you like to share how a teacher might connect with EcoRise, particularly one in Dallas?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely welcome, Peter, to reach out to support@ecorise.org. And we do have school programs all across the state and the country where schools and districts can partner with us. Specifically for Building a Green Texas, we're looking to work in Title I high schools that have particularly high population of students who happen to be from low-income backgrounds and may not typically have access to these career fields. As we mentioned, this is a specifically DEI and anti-racism focused project. And so we're looking to further those opportunities for BIPOC and students of color across Central and Texas and the Gulf Coast. However, support@ecorise.org is the right place to start. And you're also welcome to reach out to me after this presentation. And we have some freemium resources. We also have sustainable intelligence partnerships with districts all across the state and the country. And so we'd be delighted to talk more to you about those.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Can you hear me a little bit better now with the video off? Okay, thank you. So we don't have any other questions in the chat, but I had a few since you can hear me now. How does an organization or a company become involved in the mentorship or the internship program? What kind of, what's the criteria that you're looking for?
That's a great question. Again, the quick way in terms of logistically getting involved is to email support@ecorise.org. Those emails will come directly to me if you're interested in being a mentor or supporting with our internship. The criteria, we, in an attempt to create vast opportunities for students to engage in as many career explorations as they can. We try to connect with folks who do work in sustainability or green fields or through the lens of sustainability and green fields. We know that there are sustainability components to almost every organization and company and entity. And so if you do work or you have a passion around those things, talk to me and we can kind of figure out where the fit is. In terms of our DEI efforts, it is critical that the people who come to participate with us are willing and excited to participate through the lens of inclusion and equity. A lot of the students most of the students that we're elevating are BIPOC, like Elizabeth mentioned, like we've mentioned before. And so it's really important that we are connecting our students with people who align with our values related to equity and who are interested and who are actively seeking to be anti-racist in their spaces, so that our students are able to have safe spaces and also see places where they might find themselves in the future.
Thank you, Brittany. Well, at this time, we don't have any other questions in the chat. I want to thank you both again for your time and sharing information about your programs. It's just fantastic. And I love how you all are creating change makers as yourselves are also change makers in the industry. So this webinar will be recorded and emailed out to everyone along with a presentation within 24 hours. And those of you, when you will also be a survey, and in the survey, if you respond, you can also get continuing education unit credits. Thanks again. I learned a lot today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for having us, Sean.
Yes, thank you so much, Sean. We really appreciate you. And thanks to everyone who joined. Thank you so much, Mindy. I really appreciate that information about the economic inclusion focus group. And yeah, just thank you all for the work that you're doing and for the chance to speak about our programs. Thanks, Darian.
Thanks, Darian. Bye.